say, look, we're going to move forward in spite of these challenges, is that which the leadership has not been able to turn into a positive energy and has invariably used to either create a widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. When you have such distortion in an economy, you begin to have problems. Social deviancy becomes a natural result of it. If you have an electoral process that cannot be trusted to produce things, and then you create a pool of militants, toys, and whatever, once you achieve your goal, you cannot go back to collecting it from them. Focus back on Yadwa. My challenge about this presidency is one thing. You have components. The presidency is just one person. The president is one person. The presidency is another thing.
Much bigger than him.
Much bigger than him. We have never taken time to look at the issues about the presidency. In the last 2 months, nobody has heard from the Minister of Finance. That is the person in charge of the economy, referring to the president. In the president's address, he spoke directly about banking reform, as if that is the only key thing. So who it was who posited that if we were to resolve the banking situation, we would therefore be able to use the banks as a tool for what? Turning Nigeria into a great nation. It has, there are some credible models that suggest that thing, but there's one thing they never suggested. This is a state that does not have a development plan. The last time we had one was in 1974-78 by the Professor Aboyade's team and whatever met. In that plan, they said once, there was a little part of it I read, which before coming down here, we said, we enlist for purposes of discussion 4,000 to about 6,000. Because of that, we would need much more fuel usage. And because of that, we would have to build refineries. Because of that, we would have to invest in education, in the Petroleum Institute to develop capacity. We need to invest in transportation to move those things around. We need to invest in an integrated plan that from one single analysis, the solution was dovetailed down into so many other areas. And that formed the development plan from which budgets are made. Each department is given something to go and do. We don't have that. You have a system in this country that operates on a short cycle, a 12-month cycle. Can you tell, honestly, what are the plans for Q2 2010? How can you plan? How can you make decisions? So if the president says that he sees emerging signs of recovery, in which areas? What indices are you seeing that? Is it the fact that our country's top line and middle line revenues are going for manufacturing sectors, but then the margins are reducing because the cost of running businesses is here. In other words, we deindustrialize the country rapidly, and guess what? All these challenges is a failure of the state. So when you say that you go towards a failed state, it doesn't mean we get to Congo where we're killing ourselves on the road. We will be a failed state when you cannot adequately run this TV station. We have power generator 24/7. That is a wastage of cost which could have gone into training, development of manpower. So Ruto himself, at his convocation where he was giving the doctorate degree, said 71% of graduates in Nigeria are unemployable. That is so really funny.
Very interesting. Let's get back to the banking sector. Very interesting in the last 2 weeks. Of course, we've had everybody talking recently about the banking sector. We want to talk about the banking sector. Just spend about 5 minutes to talk about before we take the first break on banking before Lamido. So much to talk about. When we got the Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index in 2008 report, Nigeria got worst rating. 121 out of 180 countries ranked or at least studied by TI based in London. And just 1 or 2 days after that, the president of the Nigerian Bar Association came out very strongly and says, well, quoting part of what it says, the banks and the sector, but the TI report says that Nigeria's banking system has been endemic with corruption from the bank owners to the managers since 1990s, resulting in a massive failure of banks. That banking before Lamido came in. Has anything changed?
You see, I'm not in favor of pigeonhole analysis. This is bodies put their reports all out and they use different measurements of it. I want to focus on us as a people. What do we know of ourselves? What do we know about this country? Corruption.
What do we know about ourselves? So we go back very quickly. Hold on, just a minute. We'll go back towards Fadida Waziri, the EFCC chairman, reported in the papers just about 48 hours ago, says kleptomania is the way of life. politicians need to get to the hospital to get their heads examined.
It's much more than that.
That's the way we see ourselves.
Listen, I will tell you one thing. From empirical evidence and analysis, we've been able to narrow it down to something. This is a country that has a culture of patronage, more than should be. This culture of patronage is sustained by two things. A high level of incestuous relationship between regulators and those who are operators. It is also sustained by political leverage, which is ruled by one basic principle: winner takes all. That kind of mindset, value system as a nation, the corruption you point to are symptoms of a larger problem.
In the banking sector?
The banking sector is just a mirror of the whole society. The bankers are not people who live in a strange land.
So we shouldn't complain.
It's in your own industry. It's in your,
the bulletproof car.
it's in your, wait, you've got it in your university system. We knew so many years ago that students were paying lecturers to get results out. Yet we didn't talk about it. What went on? These same set of people have grown up. We knew now. In what way are supposed to do this? They've
grown up and they've been employed in the bank.
They've not been employed. These are people who were built and nurtured around corruption.
In the universities,
and
polytechnics, and they're not bank GMs and what have you. Oh, okay, so I just say, well, it's a way of life. Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back to ask the question whether you're bullish or not. We'll come back to you after the break. You're watching a special edition of